ValveTime.net.
Hi, and welcome to the debut episode of ValveTime Database, a new show where we'll be taking an in-depth look at enemies, characters, weapons, locations, and items within Valve's titles to determine how they impact the game or series overall. For our first episode, we've decided to take a look at possibly the most iconic enemy in all of Valve's games, the Headcrab. While it may look like a roasted chicken, the Headcrab is the workhorse of the Half-Life series, serving to help set the tone, pace, and even affecting the plot itself. Even from the early design phase of the game, it was clear that the Headcrab was a seminal enemy of Half-Life's design. In the 0.52 alpha build leaked last year, the Headcrab's near-final behaviors and aesthetics were implemented, with the main difference being the color of the texture. In the developer playthrough video released in 2013, we see that the intentional placement of this enemy around dark corners and in cramped spaces is consistent with the final retail release of Half-Life. While the Headcrab is not the first Zen creature seen in Half-Life, an honor belonging to the bull squid, it is the first creature you interact with directly. The first encounter with the Headcrab allows the player to safely inspect the enemy, which is safely trapped in a glass container. Upon first inspection, it might seem harmless, even cute, in a strange way. However, the second Headcrab lunges at the player, showing that they are hostile creatures. This encounter reveals a number of things about the creature itself, but it also provides some insight into the way Valve reveals information in their games. Something is shown to the player in a way that is consistent with the fictional world. The game is showing the player this is an enemy without stepping out of the game's own reality. In the earliest chapters of the first Half-Life, the Headcrab serves to set a horrific tone, providing frequent scares and threatening ambient sounds. In addition to this, the mangled bodies of the Headcrab zombies create a sense of the macabre, evoking classic horror films such as Alien and John Carpenter's The Thing. This theme of macabre horror is revisited in Half-Life 2 when we first witness a Headcrab taking control of a host in Station 6 during the Root Canal chapter. The player witnesses a helpless resistance member overcome in seconds. This becomes more prevalent when the player reaches Ravenholm. While players will have witnessed Headcrab mortar shells earlier in the game, here we learn about the outcome of a prolonged attack. We also learn that while the host is powerless against the Headcrab's control, they may still be alive and aware, desperately crying out for help. In total so far, the series features 3 primary variants of the Headcrab. In the first Half-Life, we encounter only one species of Headcrab, the Zen native standard Headcrab, in 3 stages of its development. Most commonly, we see it in its mature adult stage, but in the later chapters of the game on Zen, we encounter its baby form and its much larger, fully developed form, the Gonarch, or Big Mama as it is affectionately referred to. The standard Headcrab features 4 clawed legs, 4 fanged mouth appendages, and an interior beaked mouth which it uses to latch onto its prey. It does not feature a very threatening attack, inflicting only minor damage and wounds with its mouth, fangs, and claws. Instead, it attempts to latch onto the head of a host, coupling with the skull as a means of transforming them into a zombie. In some rare cases, this zombie might mutate into a faster and much more aggressive form known as the Gonome, encountered only in Half-Life Opposing Force. In Half-Life 2, we encounter 2 new species of Headcrabs, the Fast Headcrab and the Poison Headcrab. The Fast Headcrab, like the standard Headcrab, inflicts only minor damage and wounds with its standard attack while attempting to attach itself to a host. When the Fast Headcrab takes control of a host, it mutates it into the Fast Zombie, a more agile variant of zombie sporting much longer claws and a much thinner, almost crippled frame. The Fast Zombie's appearance is much more gruesome than the standard zombie, as the host's skin and many of its internal organs are either molted or digested away during the mutation, leaving only the skeleton and muscles. The reduced weight may account for the zombie's increased agility. The Poison Headcrab is arguably the most dangerous of the subspecies. Being the largest of the Headcrabs, it is also the slowest, but inflicts the most damage. When the Poison Headcrab lunges at its prey, it poisons them with a powerful neurotoxic venom which reduces players' and non-player characters' health to 1, regardless of current health. While this is one of the most powerful attacks in the game, it is worth noting that the Poison Headcrab can't kill the player or NPC alone. It relies on another enemy to finish off the last health point. Interestingly enough, however, it should be noted that if a barnacle eats a Poison Headcrab, the barnacle will instantly die from the toxin. Unlike the screeching and cooing of the other Headcrab species, the Poison Headcrab makes sounds similar to that of a rattlesnake. Valve noted that upon hearing the sound in the playtesting sessions, players would immediately panic and frantically search for the source of the sound. The zombie resulting from a poison headcrab taking a host appears bloated and slow. The poison zombie normally plays host for up to 3 additional poison headcrabs, which some players have speculated may suggest that the poison headcrab uses the host body as part of its breeding cycle. However, this is contrary to the live birth of headcrab babies witnessed during the fight with Big Mama in the first Half-Life. It is yet unclear how the Combine obtain or create headcrabs for use in their headcrab artillery shells. However, an unused model in the files of Half-Life 2 shows a Gonarch detained in a metallic structure which looks similar to the architecture of the Citadel. This model, named Combine BM Pod, or Combine Big Mama Pod, was to be used in an early version of the caves underneath Ravenholm. This pod would spawn fast and standard headcrabs and may have been the original source of the infestation in Ravenholm, as well as the Combine source of headcrabs for their artillery shells. Some fans have suggested that this, along with various other behavioral and biological differences between the headcrabs in the first and second game, would suggest that the Combine have modified the headcrabs for use as a biological weapon after possibly taking control of Xen following the death of the Nihilith. For example, the model of the standard headcrab used in the first Half-Life game features 6 eyes, a feature which is curiously missing from the model in Half-Life 2. Similarly, in the first Half-Life, headcrabs are shown to survive in water but die when exposed to toxic waste, while in Half-Life 2, headcrabs are commonly found near or in toxic waste, and zombies are found hiding in liquid waste that would otherwise be considered fatal to the host. This may also suggest that the fast headcrab and poison headcrab are genetically modified organisms created by the Combine. However, it may also be the case that the subspecies were added retroactively during the development of Half-Life 2, and there is currently no canonical explanation. If the standard headcrab takes over a Combine Overwatch soldier, the resulting zombine may attempt to sacrifice themselves using a grenade to attack Gordon or another target. This seems to suggest that the headcrab either has some intelligence and tool use capability, or that they retain and use some of the memories of their host. Both ideas are further supported by the fact that zombines can also be heard using the vocoder and radio communicators of their host. The grenade attack also suggests that they lack a concept of self-preservation, further supporting the idea that they have been weaponized. In fact, the only headcrab species in Half-Life 2 which has a concept of self-preservation is the poison headcrab, which flees if it takes damage, a behavior that would benefit its creators as the headcrab could poison multiple targets. While these aspects of the headcrab give us an insight into the plot, one headcrab has also affected it more directly. Lamar, Dr. Kleiner's pet headcrab, takes what was an iconic enemy of the series and turns it into a beloved character and one of the main sources of comic relief. Lamar, or Hedy as she is sometimes called by Kleiner, gets her name from Hedy Lamar, an Australian actress and inventor who co-invented spread spectrum broadcasting. Lamar accidentally sets in motion the events of Half-Life 2 when she attempts to jump on Gordon's head during the teleportation to Black Mesa East. This causes a harmonic reflux which interrupts the teleportation while changing the destination, thus forcing Gordon to flee City 17 using the canals. Additionally, the last time we see Lamar, she is boarding the rocket at the end of Episode 2, ready to go where no headcrab has gone before. And depending on the player's dedication to certain achievements, she may even be accompanied by a friendly garden gnome, whom Left 4 Dead 2 players may recognize as the early incarnation of Noam Chomsky from the Dark Carnival campaign. It is currently unclear if this will have a larger impact on the plot, or if it was simply a moment of comic relief used to lull us into a false sense of security before the dramatic cliffhanger ending. We can only speculate what the future of the Half-Life series has in store for the headcrab, but one thing is certain: they've been one of the most important and influential enemies in the series. That about wraps up the debut episode of ValveTime Database. Before you go, please let us know what you think of this new series in the comments below, and be sure to give us some suggestions for future episodes. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and to follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with all the latest Valve news and developments. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.